So, thanks for joining me again. My guest, or my friend, I should say, more than my guest, is a writer, producer. She produced a documentary feature Above and Beyond in 2014 and is developing it now as a narrative feature film. She is executive producer of Who Will Write Our History? We'll talk about that with director Roberta Grossman, and executive produced On the Map with Danny Menken, who is also on my channel. And she also was consultant on the Oscar-winning documentary Chernobyl Heart. And Chernobyl is something that we have in common, which we will talk about right away. That's how we met. She executive produced Elusive Justice, The Search for Nazi War Criminals, which aired nationally on PBS, as well as Mimi and Donna, which was chosen as one of the best TV shows of 2015 by the New York Times. Before creating and producing Above and Beyond, she produced a project for the Israeli government, Celebrities Salute Israel's 60th, which was featured in Times Square on the NASDAQ screens for 1 month. She grew up surrounded by the film industry, where she worked on her brother Steven's early films. I think you're getting a hint maybe who I'm talking about. She attended Arizona State University, UCLA, and after moving to New York, studied film at Sarah Lawrence College and the New School in New York. I'm talking about my dear, dear friend, Nancy Spielberg. Can I add on hyphenated cats?
You better, otherwise I'm in trouble.
Nancy, thank you so much for joining me.
I'm like, I'm always with you, one way or another, right?
Yeah. We
Yeah.
have a bond which started in 95 or 6? 95, I think. The end of
Yes,
95.
I think so, yeah. Yep.
And, sometimes out of tragedy comes an enormous friendship and a bond. I had just lost my first wife, may she rest in peace, Edie. And I went to a fundraiser for Children of Chernobyl.
Right.
I don't remember who invited me because we didn't know each other at that time. It was at, was it at Christie's?
Christie's.
At
Christie's,
Christie's,
yeah.
yeah, wow. And there you were sponsoring it, I guess you could call. And I met you. It was a wonderful affair, a lot of people.
Yeah.
And at that time, I was introduced to a petite woman who lit up my life. I'm going to get very emotional now because we bonded so immediately. There was something that I didn't know even at the time, but we had this in common, that she had just lost her husband.
Right. Right.
I think almost at the same time. And we started talking, and we never stopped.
It's funny because, by the way,
Oh, gosh. Oh,
I
oh,
mean, look at this.
oh.
The two of you locked blue eyes. It was blue eyes to blue eyes. And there was like this, almost like this force field around the two of you and a connection. You were so tight and together and sharing. And boy, till her last days,
Yeah.
that's how you were. It was pretty incredible. And my mom didn't she liked people. She didn't love a lot of people. She loved you.
Well, obviously, we're talking about your mom, about Leah.
Yeah.
And I used to call her Leah because that was, her Hebrew name was Leah. And that was
Right.
interestingly enough, my mother's name was Leah.
Oh, I
Yes.
didn't know that.
So I
Yeah.
called her Leah. And Siona, my darling Siona, who I was so fortunate to meet after I lost my first wife, and we've been together ever since. And Siona and I, we used to spend time with Leah whenever we could.
Right.
You were generous enough to invite me to her 80th birthday.
You were at many more than just the 80th,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
the
no, right,
80th,
sure.
I think you did you perform at the 80th? Because
I
you were
did.
always, I think we always had you performing. We made you get up and sing her favorite songs. Yeah.
Yes. Well, the 80th was at that it's wonderful Italian
Italian
restaurant
restaurant.
on
Yeah,
Westwood Boulevard.
I think
You,
so. Yeah, we made it kosher.
oh,
We
you
made the
took
whole
it
place
over and
kosher.
koshered it. I remember so many friends were there. Kirk Douglas was there with his wife
Yeah,
as well. That's when
yeah,
I met him.
yeah.
And we decided that I wanted to sing something that meant something to all of you. And it turned out it was a song called Yes, My Darling Daughter, which I learned, and I sang that for the first time. And I still have the gifts from that birthday. One couple of bottles of wine,
So do
which
I
I still
actually.
still have them.
With her face on it, don't drink it. I think it's really not good anymore. And it has her face on the label, and it says
Yes,
no wine before it's time, but it's time.
and that little bobblehead, little
Yeah,
doll, and there was I think it was like a lollipop or something as well. I mean, uh,
right.
you know, and unfortunately, we don't have Leah physically with us, but she is constantly, in my thoughts, in my mind, uh, and she has uh, inserted herself so much in my
Yeah,
life, and I'm so grateful for that. And that's how my friendship with you and your family has been for all these years. So I'm
yeah,
we're so lucky to have had
we
her.
are. And I feel her with me all the time. In fact, I sometimes blame her for some of the idiosyncrasies or crazy things I do or impulsiveness. I mean, I one time I was somewhere flying. I was like online on the plane and I saw a picture of like a denim. My mother always wore denim, white Peter Pan collars or big diamonds,
Collars,
but always like jeans. And I saw a denim sequined jacket. And I was like, oh my God, I have to have that. And I literally landed in LA, went to Neiman's, bought it. It was a ridiculous amount of money. And I sent a picture to my husband, said, my mother made me do this. Because my mother would have bought that. So I had to buy it because it reminded me. So I use her sometimes, but she guides me. She really guides me, even with the restaurant that, we kept it open to honor her, the Milky Way.
Milky Way.
And we modernized it a little bit, but we made it mom. It's denim, it's pictures of her everywhere. We actually took away a lot of the celebrity shots. I mean, we have you with her on the wall, but we took
Somewhere.
away, like, I think we took away Bill Clinton and Tom Cruise and those guys. We cleared the way because it's mom. And we really wanted to welcome people and to teach people who my mom was, and for us to be able to sit there and feel her presence. So
So
it was a very tough loss. Yeah.
uh, for all of you in Los Angeles, and for those who will visit ultimately Los Angeles when
Hawaii. Yeah.
what this pandemic is at some point over, you must visit the Milky Way. It's on Pico Boulevard, and it's kosher, and it's dairy, and it's delicious. And
Yes.
you should visit. Is it open now? Have they
No,
allowed
we're
it
just for takeout.
just
We're
for takeout? Um,
right now no in dining.
right.
So just um, okay. It right now it's no in dining. It's just takeout.
Tell me, how are you coping? I mean, I ask all my friends because we are in the middle of this pandemic, not only in the middle, but it seems that unfortunately people haven't been listening,
Right.
haven't been following the science, and it's spreading even more now. We're in the middle of almost the middle of July, and
Yeah.
it's coming, there's a spike. Uh, and so, uh, gosh, what's going to happen?
It's funny if someone had said to me that, because I'm sort of a spilkis, kind of on the go, always running, and I was traveling back and forth, New York, LA, like every month. If someone had said to me, you're going to have to stay home for like 5 months, I would have said, are you out of your mind? I can't do that. The truth is, I can do it. We can all do it. You find ways, you see new ways to be creative, you stay productive, you try to stay positive, you end up finding appreciation in things around you that you've stopped noticing, and now you have time to notice them. And I think focusing that, the toughest thing for me is not seeing Jessica, my daughter who's in Israel, Melissa, my daughter who's in LA, seeing my dad who's 103 in LA. That is my yearning. But thank God for Zoom. We've all become experts on, even my dad FaceTimes with us, and seeing a face and hearing a voice just helps strengthen you.
It's a comfort, but I cannot hug my grandkids.
I know.
And I see them, and every once in a while they'll come up and we'll take walks from afar.
Right.
But they're growing up. They're 8, and and uh, I want to hug them. I want to physically, and it's frustrating. And sure, I agree. I'm doing things like what I'm doing now. I
Right.
decided, instead of getting up every morning and not seeing anything on my calendar, so what's my incentive
Right.
in the morning? We are storytellers. That's what
Yes.
we do, and we want to tell stories. So how do we do it in this
Right.
new reality? So there are ways. There are some positive things that have come out of it. I have to tell you, though, that Siona said to me the other day that she thinks it may be a blessing that Lee did not have to go through this,
Yeah.
because I can't imagine how she would have sit back and
Yeah.
and 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 taken this.
Not well, because my mom was so many things and very strong in many ways, but her Achilles heel was not the pain, it was the fear of. So it's fear that would cripple her, and the anxiety. Plus, she was so into people. She
Right,
had to be
that's
in
the
that
point.
restaurant
Yes,
every single day. She
right.
is not a homebody. She would never sit, like the most she would sit at home would to be watch Judge Judy for half an hour, then go back to the restaurant to work. But don't you often think, what I keep thinking about is our families that came from Eastern Europe, or before the Holocaust, after the Holocaust, those that ventured to America, like my grandparents in the early 1900s, didn't think they may see their families again. They were leaving family behind. There are hardships that none of us know anything about. And if we can take a lesson from anything of finding our resilience, and I always say that Jewish people, resilience should be our middle name. We have to be resilient, because there's so many ways that, things work against us. It's not just the Jewish people now, obviously, but I have to figure out that however bad we think we have it, it could be worse. I'm always scared to say that. Doesn't mean we should be complacent, but you have to find your positive kernels to keep you getting out of bed every day.
Well,
You know,
not only that, but I consider us blessed. We are the lucky ones. When you see what's going on in the rest of the country and the rest of the world, for the people who are not as fortunate as we are, who can't even feed their families. I mean,
right,
who are online for hours and hours just to get some food, the basics. So I
right.
think we need to say, Baruch Hashem,
Yes,
and thank the Lord, or whoever it is, for everything that we are blessed with, and try and pay it forward, as you say, as try and help, and
right.
that's what we do. Uh,
Yeah,
that's in our tradition, tikkun olam. Try and
right,
help as much as we can, and hope that this will at some point, it will at some point somehow balance out. I hope. I think, I hate to be uh, pragmatic, but I think it's going to be with us for quite a while.
I
And
sort of I said that to my kids, because I don't want them to lose hope, because Jessica is a performer also, which means she needs gigs. And if nothing's really in production, or she also sings and she can't do concerts, trying to figure it out. Melissa works in the equestrian world. There haven't been horse shows. Everybody's affected. Everybody's affected. But I keep saying to them, you know what? Think of February as the day that you may be able to unlock the door. I know that may sound extreme, but think in the long term that this is not 2 more weeks. We, you know, and just we need patience. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people that have no patience. You know, Israel is in a worse situation right now, as is Los Angeles. California is terrible. And, you know, I feel like I sound old when I say I'm going to blame the young people because they're not taking it seriously. But, you know, a lot of the people that are just anxious to get out there and socialize are not doing it wisely.
Well, as you said, you know, we, the Jewish people, unfortunately, went through, when I speak to, you know, I have a dear friend who's going to be 100. She's a Holocaust survivor. And she says to me, you know, this is nothing compared to what we went through. And we're still here. And she's a tough one. So that's really, you know, maybe we should simply remember the old saying, and this too shall pass, hopefully.
Right.
But we have to, you know, adjust ourselves to a new way of life. It will never be the same that it was before, and hopefully it'll be different. But maybe it may be better. And you know, science is always advancing and giving us new possibilities. So speaking of the Holocaust, your documentary is so magnificent that you produced, and I hope that it's being, you know, streamed right now because the cinemas are not, you know, functioning. What's happening with it? Is there?
So that's Hula Rider History, which was written and directed by Roberta Grossman, who directed Above and Beyond with me. And we had a very robust festival. It was aired on Discovery networks globally, and it is still being screened through Good Docs, and I think you can even go online and screen it. A lot of the schools are asking for it, and mostly schools that are looking for important programming, and there's very little funds. Mostly now, you know, you're hearing other words about funding being cut to schools. Anyway, we won't get into that, but we make a huge effort to not just make a film, but to distribute the film. And it's not the bottom line is not dollars with us, it's eyeballs. So this is a time, it's interesting because you spoke to Danny Menken, I think, as well.
Oh yeah, Danny's up on the channel as well.
Right. So it's really an interesting time that instead of being in film festivals where you are limited by the number of seats in a theater, you can only have 300 or 400 people, you can have a global opening of a film. You can stream a film globally and reach that many more people. And the point of Hula Rider History is to teach a lesson, to share the stories, and to honor and respect the people that died writing their stories, wanting to tell the truth, knowing they wouldn't survive. And, you know, there's something to be said for making sure the truth gets through today with all the quotes about, you know, fake news, which was one of Hitler's favorite statements.
Oh gosh.
By the way. Yeah.
Oh, don't get me started.
Yeah, okay, we won't go that way. So it is available, and I should probably know exactly where it is available, but I know if you go on like katahdin.org, the website, or you can go to hulariderhistory.com, it shows you how to.
I'll put that up on the screen, and also we'll try and put a little teaser or a trailer on for it.
Okay.
Somewhere, years ago, there was a mother who knew that her son was the cleverest, the most talented, the most beautiful. And now the brightest and most beautiful child in the world lies in a strange street. And his name isn't even known.
We should have seen the worst coming. But we did not want to know the truth. We did not want to see it.
Does the world know about our suffering?
Emanuel Ringelblum understood that he had a story to tell, and it was the most important story he would ever have to tell.
Almost all the photography that we have was taken by the German propaganda unit.
Will the Germans write our history, or will we write our history?
Let the witness be our writing.
Their goal was to write the history of the war from the Jewish perspective. And there was no time to lose.
The worst scenario was in the process of happening.
Writing becomes the only recourse. That was the ultimate act of defiance.
You don't really need guns to fight. You could fight with paper and pen.
This is what made this collection of documents so absolutely unique.
One thing is clear to all of us. Our devotion and constant terror have not been in vain. Among those taken away was Rabbi Uberman,
Geli Sexton,
Israel Lichtenstein,
Leib Golden,
Abraham Levin,
Halina.
Emanuel Ringelblum.
Remember, my name is Nahum Gazivich.
I am writing this as a witness.
Let me ask you what you hear from, we're talking about the positive things that we've gotten on the one hand, that we can access so many more people than we could before,
Right.
worldwide, reach so many just by doing the new technology like Zoom or, but it's taking a big toll on the industry, on our industry, both here in California and on the East Coast. Broadway, which I love and I've worked on so many times and I miss, has been closed for 5 months completely.
Will be closed until January.
And will not open till
Yeah.
January 2021. Thousands and thousands of talented people, especially young people, who come to New York every year to try and make it in
Right.
off Broadway, off Broadway, on Broadway, and have been sidelined now, and don't even have the ability to take on side jobs like waitresses or bartenders,
Right.
because that's not available either. And it's tragic. It really is. The Actors Fund is a wonderful organization that I recommend for people who want to help to support these people. But it's actors and dancers and choreographers and directors and some of the theaters. I did a schmooze with Manny Eisenberg, one of our greatest producers, and Manny thinks that many companies won't even return next year. They won't be able to. So the same thing out here on the coast in California in the film industry. What do you hear? Do you hear anything from Stephen? What's happening there? How is it affecting his ability to produce and to tell stories?
Well, the truth is, I've been talking to him, but not about anything to do with the industry. We just sort of share, our family things. He was locked down in his home in LA for a long time. I know that DreamWorks is still working on development, which this is actually a great time to develop projects, to write projects, to Zoom it. As far as production goes, I know that there were guidelines that were released in LA a couple of weeks ago that were very complicated, like everybody on the set with a mask except the actor. But because of all the unions involved, that's going to be tough. So, the studios are very deep pockets. They're probably working even more furiously than the rest of us to figure out how to get back to some way to monetize all the money that they've dumped into films. Because how do you recoup a $50 million, $100 million film? How do you recoup it in streaming? Yeah. It's not easy.
Yeah.
And when theaters do start back, they're going to start back at a third or half capacity. So, and as much as we all love drive-ins, nobody has real estate, so there's so many problems. It just like compiles. And I don't really know what's going to happen. I didn't even ask Steve what will happen with West Side Story, which is supposed to be released on his birthday, December 18th. And you can only hope that we will be able to be in a theater and have an experience on a big screen and beautiful sound, so that you can immerse yourself. So I really don't know. Like, I didn't get it from that horse's mouth. I just hear from everybody in general.
But again, we'll adapt. For example, Hamilton,
Right.
they were going to release this feature that they did, a marvelous feature, next year. And
Right.
they decided in the end, Disney, this is the right time to do it. And most people have big screens now, big screen TVs.
Right.
And we watched it the other night, and it is magnificent.
Right.
Obviously, if we had been able to see it in a theater, in the atmosphere, in the dark, with other people, and share the experience on a huge screen, but it's still very rewarding. So that may be the direction we're going, and
Yeah.
we'll see.
Right.
Tell me what are your immediate plans? Are you staying home? Can you travel? How's Shimmy? How is he doing?
Shimmy is great. My dog is also very happy that we're home. Right now, I don't want to go anywhere. The first place I'll probably go is LA and then Israel when we can. We have a home in both places. I'm really dying to get to Jerusalem, but not yet. One of the hardest things about all of this is to think that I'm in that elderly category, and nobody told me that before. Like, suddenly over 60 means you're in the elderly category, and that was a wake-up call, I gotta tell you. So
Although Nancy, today that's not the case anymore. The average coronavirus is actually affecting younger people. It's
right,
not the 65 and over anymore. It's the
right.
35 and the 25, and some children
I
are
know.
unfortunately passing away. So it's not, and we still don't know anything about
I
this.
know.
It's still,
My nephew had a horrible case, and he's 27 years old, healthy kid.
okay.
So he was in ICU for 14 days. He is still at home convalescing, still needs oxygen, and this is about 6 weeks later. He's slowly building up his strength. He had cardiac issues, pulmonary issues, gastro issues. So hopefully hopefully most of it will reverse itself, because he is a young body. And he was given remdesivir,
Right.
which had just been approved. So that Tuesday that the remdesivir was sent out, he had been in ICU from the Thursday before, was not on a ventilator, but was on heavy oxygen, the other mask. And you know what? He's the most optimistic guy, because he feels great now. Knowing how he felt, he feels great, and he will slowly build his strength back. So that is super important. But when you see somebody close to you, it scares you into good behavior, even more so. And I think we don't do anything. Like, I know a lot of people do their social backyard things. We're not doing anything. I love you from afar through a screen. And that's the way I want it. I walk a lot. I walk with the dog, but I just don't walk with anybody. Only four legs.
People should, that quote that somebody sent me a little while ago, if you hate a mask, you're going to love the ventilator.
Yeah.
So, unless people see it, like you said, you saw someone close to you,
Very
people
scary.
who haven't seen it still don't get it.
I know.
Please, let's all stay. The bottom line is not to get it.
Right.
Not to get it. That's the whole thing. And it's common sense, for God's sake.
I know.
Just common sense. Do what you're supposed to do.
I think I'm disappointed in the amount of anger that I feel when I see strangers walking by me without masks. And they don't even have one around their neck. I just want to yell at them. I actually did yell at a group. I did yell, and I'm, sort of like a little petite thing. And I was like, "Where's your mask?" And it was a whole bunch of people walking across the road. So I had to get past them in my neighborhood. And the young woman said, "We don't have any available." And I'm thinking, this is the beginning. I'm wearing a bandana. Don't tell me you don't have a beautiful little scarf you can put over your nose. And I couldn't believe I blurted it out. And I said, well, you're making us all feel very uncomfortable. I've been picking fights with people without masks, but it's scary.
Nancy, people learn by example.
Yeah, well,
Children learn by
yeah,
example. The best way, to educate children is by example. And we
right.
don't have an example right now.
No.
We don't have leadership from the top. And that's the problem. And until we get leadership, we are leaderless and
Yeah.
we're floundering. And most people will take that as an example who have that hard-headed attitude. And if he's not doing it, why should I? And that is quite a big chunk of our nation. And
It
that,
is a big, big problem.
well,
Big problem.
we have 4 months to go, and
I'm counting.
we have to do the right thing.
Yep.
We can go on and on and on. I love you, but I know you want to get into the pool and cool off a little bit. Show me what did T-shirts say?
Oh, so when my brother started to make, it says E.T. and me.
Oh, E.T. and me, yeah.
When my brother made Jaws, right after Jaws, a whole bunch of copycat films came out. So then when he started to produce his other films, he would do them under like shoo-shoo, very secretive. So Close Encounters was under a code name. You had to have a picture. This is picture ID. This is a long time ago. I think that was 1977.
You're right.
And called CE3K. We always got the cast and crew T-shirts. So then when he made E.T., when he was filming E.T., originally it was called A Boy's Life because he didn't want anybody also to catch on. And then they named it E.T. and me. So this was like I actually have old T-shirts. I don't know when E.T. came out, but this is a long time ago. I had my Jaws T-shirt on. I had a 45-year-old T-shirt I was wearing. I'm pulling all the stuff out of the closet because why wear, the other things?
We get a chance to,
yeah,
we get a chance to take all the old stuff and look through stuff that we've accumulated.
I know.
We don't need anymore. And this is giving us a chance to do that. By the way, there was a wonderful article in this past Sunday New York Times in the art section, which is getting thinner and thinner because of lack of shows to cover. But there was a great article about Jaws. I can't believe that it was so many. It was like
1975.
Wow, unbelievable.
It came out the year Sue and I, my sister and I, went to Israel right after Jaws came out. It came out, I think, in June or July. August, we went to Israel. We went to a kibbutz. And I'll never forget the first trip they took us on was to the Sinai. And we went to Eilat, and then we went to Ras Mohammed, which is now given back to Egypt.
Sure.
And I remember snorkeling with another guy, and I saw this huge shark. Now, I read Peter Benchley's book. I read the script. I was on set with Jaws. I know what you're not supposed to do. You're not supposed to thrash around and scream like a sissy. So the minute I saw a shark under me, what do? I ripped off my snorkel mask. I started screaming and thrashing around. And the guy that was with me was trying to shush me. And we were right by the corals. At Ras Mohammed, you can walk way out in the water on coral.
Oh, I dove there many times with the sharks.
Yeah, so I got out of there fast. In the meantime, it was a sand shark, which is probably like harmless, 3 foot. But, I've never swam with a fish that big. And that was it. That was 1975. And I just saw headlines. I saw the headlines like, Achayot Spielberg and the Karish, like the Spielberg sisters eaten by a shark. And because it was Sharkmania that summer.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Well,
so the article, I think, was that Jaws was playing, and it was one of the biggest box office now in like movie theaters and stuff. I mean, it made like $500,000 in movie theater sales or whatever's happening in the COVID environment in re-release. So that was the big news.
Right, and it really it initiated the summer blockbusters. That was the start of it all.
Right. I know.
I'm going to ask you the question that I ask all my friends towards the end of our shmooahs. If I were to ask you, who is the person, one individual, that inspired you or your life or your career, your life basically, who would it be?
It probably would be there really are three, but it would probably be my mom. I would say my mom first, because her attitude in life was always the cup is half full.
Yes.
It is never I don't have. It's like, look at my bounty. Look at the blessings I have. She used to say, look at me, Leah Fagel Posner. And I got a little blue box from Tiffany's from my son. Look at the Schmendrick Leah Fagel Posner. My mother used to get excited about a new pair of Keds sneakers for $20. And so it's always finding that thrill and looking at life like that. And she also used to say the Scarlett O'Hara famous line of, I'll think about that tomorrow. Like today, I'm going to live my life and enjoy it. So sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. But I think that she gave me a positive attitude. But I do have to say, because I can't answer that just by itself, is my father and my husband, who both are incredibly responsible, and they feel like they have to take care of a lot of people. They feel that they carry the weight in many ways, and they do things to help a lot of people. And so that has taught me that. I think I learned more tzedakah from Shimon, my husband, who sometimes I want to shoot him when he goes, oh, no, I'm doing this for so-and-so. I was like, are you crazy? You know, it's like they mention once something and all of a sudden you're going to go in search of it and send it to, because he just thinks of other people to the nth degree. But I try to learn how to be that considerate to other people as well. Not always there, but I'm trying. So it is tough. I would say my mom just probably gives me the joy to live. And that with that, you can just do about anything. I think.
She lived that way.
Yeah, she did.
She did live that way.
She taught us all. And to hold on, you got to hold on to that little bit of that childlike innocence, just a little, because that's a little bit of a happy pill.
But you're born with that, Nancy. It's not something
maybe
you can do. It's something that you're born with. It's in the genes. Some people
got good genes.
Some people just have that,
right?
And they radiate it, and that's how we first met. There was a chemistry there between us, and it never went away. It was always there. We may not have seen each other very often, but it was always there. So she's watching over all of us. God bless her. She's
so happy we're playing nicely
together.
Yes.
And I leave you the way I always leave my my talks and my schmoozes with my motto. And my motto is Carpe Diem. Seize the day.
Yes. Amen.
That's what we will always need to do. Seize the day. Thank you so much, Nancy. I love
you, Mike.
Stay safe. That. And we'll see each other in person.
Yes, when we're going to hug.
Yes.
It'll be so interesting.
Okay. Love you. And thank you, folks, for joining us. See you next time. Bye.